Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another episode of Our Roots in Tea. We are back to talk more about topics about our mind and just exploring our minds, really. And I'm always discussing these topics with different people from all over the world and with different backgrounds. And before I get to my guest today, the tea we're drinking today to accompany our conversation is the Wild Berry Zinger Herbal Tea, caffeine free. It's pretty good. Um, and so today we have Oliver, a good friend of mine, who's also a screenwriter. So thank you, Oliver, for joining, being on
Hey
board.
Darren, thanks for having me on, man. It's a pleasure
Absolutely,
to be here.
absolutely, yeah, yeah. I don't think Oliver is drinking any tea or coffee. He's
Oh,
just chilling right now, which is cool.
I actually am today. Oh, I do have tea.
Oh, great. Well, what are you drinking?
Yeah, I'm drinking this. It's called Zheng Shan.
Oh,
I
okay.
think I'm pronouncing it right. I'm not sure. But it's by a local tea maker, and it's apparently it's like a Chinese smoked tea
Hmm.
leaf. So
Okay. Does it have like certain I guess like effects or something or certain health thing? No?
it's just caffeine.
Just
Yeah,
caffeine. Okay.
yeah. But it's like it kind of reminds me of like my days when I used to smoke because it's like because it's smoked. So my
Mm,
so I kind of almost get like a hint of like tobacco in there, but it's just the tea leaf. But yeah, it's kind of cool. Yeah,
great. Yeah, that
yeah.
sounds cool, man. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, because usually tea has like antioxidants and all that good stuff.
Yes. Yep.
Anyways, yeah, so we're gonna get right into it. First question to kind of start off.
Mhm.
What's the life of a screenwriter look like
Oh,
for you?
geez, man. Well, I want to say I don't know. I only I
Okay.
only know what my life looks like, and which is like like I'm a full-time dad,
Hmm.
and and a part-time writer. Some days it's full-time writing, but most days it's part-time, and it's it's hectic. It used to be quite crazy until I really just embraced being a father and owning that time and owning that title. And then because I tried to also write a lot with it,
Hmm.
and I would like when my son was earlier on, like I would get him to bed, and then I would write um till like I don't know 2 or 3 in the morning, and
Mm.
then I would go to sleep, and then I'd wake up when he would wake up, which is like around 7 or whatever, and try to help him get ready and stuff, and I would do that, and I would try to take a nap during the day or something, or try and rest somehow. But it was too much, it was just
Mm.
too much, and actually trying to scale it back, and I just relax a bit more and spent more time focusing on him and my family, and yeah, just realizing that's really what makes me happy, I
Okay.
guess, so yeah.
Okay, that's good. And do you for you like, because you know how you mentioned that you put your kid to bed and then you start writing and
Mhm.
do you always do you have like a goal like every day that you set where like, oh, I'm gonna write this amount of pages every day? Like is there a routine for you?
um I've never been like a page person. I've just a page count person. I've been more of like I do set like a deadline for myself though for different
Hmm.
stages of the process. So like whether it's and usually that stage is if I'm doing cards, you
Yeah.
can see behind me. Yeah, so I'm doing
Mm.
either doing cards or I'm doing my outline or when I'm punching out the first draft, and then subsequent drafts after that. But yeah, it's more like I just try to devote a certain amount of time per day to it,
Hmm.
and it turns up being around 4 hours or so.
Hmm.
But if I'm like if I'm working with somebody else and we have a deadline or something to hit, then it's like then I then I push it. Then I'm working like 8 to 10 or 12, whatever whatever it takes. But
Hmm.
it's I'm not a nice person during that time, and it
Mm.
sucks. So I try not to,
Yeah.
you know. try to make life pleasurable for everybody. Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. And for those of you who are listening can't see in the video is that behind Oliver, he has like a whole huge board where he's all these index cards. And so I was gonna ask you about that is can you explain a little bit about the board and the cards? Like what's the
Oh,
function of it and what do you do?
well, yeah, I mean, anyone who writes, right, would know. I mean, so for the people who don't believe in plotting, which, I respect that method as well. But just for me, I love seeing the story out on cards, on the
Hmm.
board,
Hmm.
and it's easy to move things around. It's easy for me to envision everything in my head, especially when like if you're like trying to write backwards or like a scene is in my head and I know that I need to put this down, so I put it down like I know that okay, this is going to happen in somewhere in act 2,
Hmm.
and then so I can make sure that okay that I set this up properly, right, like somewhere in act 1 or the beginning of act 2. So yeah, I like looking at it like that, and I look at it. I know, like I've talked to this with other writers too, and they're just like, "Ah, I don't like doing that because then I like being in the moment. I like being spontaneous, but I feel like it doesn't take away from that at all, um, because I look at the cards as like an actual doing a draft itself. You know,
Mm.
yeah. So like I'm being spontaneous as well. I'm just throwing in a card and putting it up there, and I find it's easier to take the card down than it is to delete pages. Or to like move pages around in the script. I find that often that's more difficult when you
Okay.
get to the stage. Yeah.
Interesting. So is like is it each card like a particular scene or it's just maybe a thought or something you have in your head?
Usually it's a scene. Yeah, usually it's just scene. So I just make sure I have like put the location, who's in it, and what the action is, what they're doing.
Hmm.
Sometimes it might be what they're saying, but overall, it's really just the scene and
Oh,
what
okay.
is like what's going on here. What's the particular boxing match in this moment? You know.
And are you like also counting? I mean, because it sounds like you don't really count really pages or even how many cards because I would think that like would you count like oh this many cards will be like this many pages for this whole script?
Um, I think I used to kind of worry about that,
Mm,
but like not so much anymore. I think
okay.
I kind of have a feel for like, okay, these many scenes will fit in this much, and
Mm,
and um and then and I try not to give myself restrictions like that. I know people do that with like I guess people who follow books like Save the Cat
yeah.
stuff, right? They really pay attention to the page number,
Hmm.
but I don't know. That feel I tried that before, and I felt like that really hurt me, like, writing something. So I try not to give myself restrictions and just kind of let it flow. Yeah.
Right, right. Yeah, because if you were counting and it just feels like you're kind of forcing the issue like, oh, I have to account for this many pages or whatever, this many scenes.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And it's just, and it feels that to me that's too almost like too logical or too
Mm,
mathematical.
yeah.
Yeah. Which and for some people it works, and okay, that's great for them. But I just for me that ruins my spontaneity, if you
Yeah.
will. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And are you the kind of old school writer who would actually write out everything on paper like by hand like the whole like part of the script or scene or you just type it?
No, no way, man. Yeah, I I don't know how people do that, and I know it's the guys who they write everything on a legal pad and then just type it out later, or
Yeah.
like in one of those those composition notebooks. I'm like, dude, that's like, ouch. That my hand would be hurting, but no, but that's a lot of respect to them. I do try and like warm up my brain by writing in a journal or something before
Hmm.
I write,
Hmm.
and then and then I jump on the keyboard. But
Okay.
yeah, but most of it's other than writing the cards with a marker,
Hmm.
everything else is pretty much like on
Okay.
Google
Or-
Docs or Final Draft.
Okay. Okay. And you said like you do a warm up before you actually do the writing. So I mean like what kind of warm up are we talking about? Just like simple journaling of your thoughts or what's
Yeah, it could be that. It could be a part of I try to do like I think a lot of people do this nowadays is like I try to do like a gratitude practice
Oh,
in the
nice.
morning. So after I get my tea and I sit down and then I do that. I write in my journal, I do my gratitude, and then I try to start thinking more about the project. I try to read stuff that I've written or some ideas that I'm supposed to tackle for the day, and
Hmm.
then I'll probably try and handwrite a little bit of things in there, and then as soon as I start to like, okay, then I'll just start to feel it. I'll put it down and then just go jump on the keyboard, which
Okay,
is
wow, nice. Because it sounds like you have a pretty good kind of like a daily morally routine set up for yourself then.
yeah. I try to keep it. It's it helps for sure. Helps get in the right mind space. Yeah,
Right, right. No,
yeah.
absolutely. Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, I think what you're doing is great. And um so this whole process, this routine, has it always been like the same even before this pandemic, or things have kind of changed a little bit?
Whew. Oh, it's definitely changed. Yeah. I'd say the pandemic definitely changed like for us and for everyone because my son just started school
Hmm.
like that fall before the pandemic
Yeah.
and uh and so like that freed up a lot of time for me
Hmm.
as well. So having to deal with that to adjust for that last year was a big one. And yeah, so this routine, man, how I can't know, I'm trying to remember how long I've had this now, but I would say for at least a year,
Nice.
possibly more. Yeah, at least a year. Yeah,
Nice. That's very
yeah.
cool, man. Like I don't even know how you stay so disciplined and motivated for like a whole year, the same routine. It's crazy.
Oh man. Yeah. Well, I definitely look forward to like the weekends and going out. That's cool because like the only reason why I have this time is because I do have a nanny that comes in
Mm,
during the week. So and then once she leaves, we have dinner, we have lunch, and then I spend most of my time after that with my boy, and we just go
mm.
out. We go to the parks and we play and we watch stuff. So yeah, it's really just making my time work around them. You know,
Mhm, mhm.
it's been
Okay. And I figured that maybe during the time when you spend um time with your son and your family, you probably able to generate some inspiration from that, right? Or ideas.
um yeah, it can happen. It can happen, or I mean, it's I think ideas come from anywhere, but what is it? Yeah, it's for sure. And there's definitely things that we do, and it sparks something, or
Mhm.
things that my son says, and it's or things interactions with my wife and him, and yeah,
Okay.
it's great, man. It's good.
Okay, that's no, that's pretty cool. Yeah, so because I actually was gonna dive into a little bit of kind of your storytelling aspect, right? Because I'm guessing for you, as as a person who writes stories and write um, screenplays, you would probably put a little bit of your life experiences into the story yourself to relate. It's,
Uh-huh.
I mean, and then if you do that, like, what kind of life experiences are you putting into these stories?
Man, uh, I want to say everything, right? I
Everything.
mean,
Wow.
whatever. Yeah, I think wherever you can draw from, wherever I can draw from, to try to make something as honest as possible. If yeah, whether it's from my family now or from friends or from growing up, yeah, I feel like just I think that's what helps keep things honest in the story. It's just trying to find that truth from your history, from your experiences, for sure. I mean, it can't always be, but as long as there's that, I find it as long as I can find some truth
Hmm.
from what I've experienced and put it in there, something that I believe,
Hmm.
then I feel like that makes it more authentic, and um, I feel like that can transfer over.
Okay. Then so what was the one? So what's the main thing that you do believe in that can connect with you?
Sorry, things that I believe in, like
Yeah, yeah. Like
mm,
let's say in a story or even in a character.
oh, let's see, man. Well, I've always wanted to like maybe not maybe I've always wanted to tell stories that sort of that inspire people or that
Okay.
give people something to yeah to look at it to give them something positive, or it could be something sad or it could be something happy, but in that moment just to give them something human for them to sort of uplift in a way, so I
Mhm.
think that's, and whether that comes from tragedy or whether that comes from like tragedy, like or something sad, like watching you know what's it called, like watching people in my life or like family members go
Mhm.
through addiction, stuff like that,
Oh, wow.
and depression. It's I finding I tend to draw from like bad things like that,
Yeah.
but knowing that I'm going to so, so I think it's more of like looking at the emotion
Hmm.
in the moments and being able to like draw from that and trying to sort of like transfer that emotion right onto the page. And I think
Yeah.
which is the hardest. I mean, it's not easy,
Hmm.
but I find that if I feel it like honestly in myself and I'm while I'm writing it, and
Yeah.
then it yeah, it's better that way, I guess. Yeah.
Right. Right. No. No. Yeah. Of course. I mean, because if you as the writer, you write the story and you just you're not feeling it, then
Mm-hmm.
there's a problem, right? That means there's like a disconnect um, with the story, and then
Yeah.
other audience will probably feel the same way, like, oh, yeah, this writer doesn't even really believe in what he writes. So I think that is a really important aspect. I agree with you
Cool.
because
I'm
I
just trying.
know because I know like well because you and I we met obviously at the Seattle Asian American Film Festival just a couple years back.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the stories or one of the films that you had playing that you wrote, um, it was about that one is a little bit more like a political type experience, but then this I think it was related a little bit to kind of maybe your culture, your heritage, or something like that, right?
Yeah, yeah. So that one is then I was looking up to write that one with my partner and director Ty Sanga, and he's Hawaiian and I'm actually Filipino. So
Mhm.
but we talked about, we went to film school together, and we talked about working on something together, and then eventually we had this opportunity to write this, and then and so for me drawing from that, from oppression, and I
Mm,
think that speaking as a Filipino
yeah,
looking at Filipino history,
yeah,
undergoing almost 400 years of oppression under the Spanish rule,
mhm,
and then later the Japanese, and then
mhm,
America, and so and looking at how that's affected generations of people.
mhm,
And I feel like drawing from that, drawing from my parents experiences being immigrants here, and looking at that, I think I was able to pull from that in writing for a story that was set in Hawaii. And it was yeah it, and that in that story, yeah, I was definitely trying to we were trying to uplift people. We were trying to um instill pride um into people who were fighting or still fighting against
yes, for rights in a way.
yeah, exactly, for their own lands.
Right, right.
So
Yeah, I mean, well, we can see what's going on right now in America, where everything like it's all the true colors are showing basically with um I
yeah,
mean, I'm saying this because, of course, with all the anti-Asian violence going on
yes,
recently. So
oh
that's
yeah,
interesting. Yeah, it's actually interesting now because I do want to dive deeper into that is so do you feel like now today that you as a Filipino do you actually do feel like you're oppressed in some sense in this whether it's in the line of work you do or whatever else in life?
Whew.
You, I mean,
That's a tough question. I mean, there's so many layers there, right? Just, I mean, but do I feel oppressed? I don't know if I would say, if I'd quite say use the word oppressed,
okay,
but I would definitely say that there is there's room for equality, more equality, when it comes to just being Asian in America,
hmm
and and yeah, we've seen it, we see it now, and we see the perspectives, the perception of Asian Americans, and how we're quite still invisible,
yeah,
we're not heard, and and it it's disheartening, but it's good to see that the conversation is out there
yeah,
and that people are talking about it now. Um, and I think the toughest part for me is to see other Asian Americans say that they feel fine, you know,
hmm
and for them to think that oh yeah, the shooter wasn't racist, the one in Atlanta,
yeah, yeah,
and that they feel totally fine in this world. And to see some Asian Americans, some in my own family, who are like disconnected in that way.
oh wow,
um but I think it speaks to a larger issue
yeah,
inside the Asian American community, that need to assimilate, to be a part of the bigger union,
yeah,
and to not rock the boat in a sense.
yeah,
um so so I feel I understand what they're saying. I just
mhm,
I just I hope they can see how they're really treated in this world.
absolutely. No,
Yeah.
no, 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 yeah, that's very well said, and I agree with you. And I I would think that no, not just us, right? Maybe I would think that I'm sure a lot of um, the community of AAPI, I'm sure a lot of people have experience where maybe they didn't get that job because partially maybe because of their race or didn't get this opportunity because of that, right? And so I don't know if you ever had that experience yourself as well in the past,
Of being what? Sorry.
like not being able to get like let's say an opportunity or a job because maybe possibly because of your race.
Oh man. Um, well,
Well, not to
this
call
goes
anyone
back.
out.
No, no, it's okay. No, I'm not gonna do that. No way. Uh, but this goes back to me being in kindergarten. Um,
Mm,
because I have my last name is Latin origin, Evangelista,
evangelist.
and so it's all over. It's like in many Spanish speaking countries, and well as Portuguese
Hmm.
and Italian. But when I was enrolled in kindergarten, my parents, we lived across the street from a public school. So my parents, said, okay, we'll send him there. And so I was going, when I went to kindergarten, I went to school, and then I'd come back and I'd be speaking in Spanish. I'd say like, I know how to count in Spanish. And I'd be like, uno, dos, tres,
Yeah.
cuatro. And then my parents would be like, okay, cool. He's learning Spanish.
Mhm.
And then when we get to the open house, my parents come in and then they realize, oh, he's in an ESL class. you know?
Mm.
And so the school district just looked at my last name and just went, "Poop, he's going in ESL," and without talking to my parents, without having a discussion with me or anything like that. So I always think so, and I didn't learn that until later on. My
Yeah.
parents, like, they took me out of the school, and they put me into Catholic school, of course, and
Uh-huh.
and they were like, okay, that's it, we're done with the public school system. But
Yeah.
I would, yeah, whenever I think about like language barriers or like you say, like missed opportunities,
Yeah.
like that, it's just I always think about that, and I always think about how the how simple it can be as just your name, like
Right.
maybe like what's his name, like Martin Sheen, like
Yeah.
going from Estevez to Sheen, and how that happens, and yeah, it's I don't know, it's man, it's but have I experienced that as you know I guess more in my adulthood, maybe looking for jobs and stuff. I don't know. I honestly don't know. I can't say outright that I do.
Right.
Like I know that being an Asian American, I know that I have more privilege than Black folks, and I know that I do
Sure.
benefit from that in a way, and I try not to abuse that. And but yeah, I don't know. I can't say. I mean, part of me feel. I wonder whenever I submit my resume or an application, I always wonder
Okay.
about my last name being there and how
Oh,
people look at it.
yeah, yeah,
Having experienced that, as a kid. So, I'm sure it's probably happened out there.
yeah.
Someone looked at my last name, probably think, oh, maybe this guy know how to speak English. Is it his first language? I mean,
Oh, wow. So,
that's just my thinking. Like just my
right.
putting my feelings onto something, but projecting my feelings. But I always wonder about that. It's kind of like someone seeing you on the street and you
Yeah,
being Asian,
yeah,
and you meet someone is probably not Asian, but probably they're meeting like a white person, and they're you know I'm sure you know how this feels. So you get this look. It's just like whether or not does this person speak English. If I try to talk to them,
hmm,
it's just you have to communicate, and
yeah,
it to me it's kind of like that in a way. It's just like, does my name say something?
right, right,
Because it,
right.
I mean, obviously does, but
Yeah, yeah.
yeah,
But
whether
I mean, but it's a fair projection though, because I mean, a lot of times the way how you were brought up as a kid or kind of your upbringing and all that has an effect on you once you get older.
mhm, yeah,
Like that's why like
yeah,
they always say that child development is actually very important, right? Because during like certain prime years, your brain obviously is still maturing and then still trying to make sense of everything and process everything. So if something happens,
mhm,
usually that kind of carries on like subconsciously, right? Like deep into your roots, it carries on to the same way that you're
mhm,
now, where like in an adult, you're still thinking about your last name because of what happened that they put you into the ESL class, which is actually kind of messed up, by the way. It almost sounds like it's illegal where you're just doing it without telling him, right?
yeah,
And that's
oh
like
yeah,
messed up.
oh yeah, man, and oh yeah. By the way, that teacher actually used to like hit us with a ruler.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and this is in yeah, public school district too. So
Wait, are they allowed to do that?
no, definitely
Oh,
not. But I think because of majority, we were all minorities, so it's like, well, what are we gonna say? You know, what
holy,
are they gonna do? Yeah, it
holy
was
crap. Wait, this was what, back in the 90s or something?
80s, yeah,
Okay, so
yeah,
maybe back in the 80s, the rules were a little bit flexible.
right.
I don't know. Uh,
Yeah, I don't know either. Hmm.
wow. So in some sense, like your childhood bully is really your teacher then. It's not even like another kid.
Well, I had those two, but yeah, yeah.
So you were bullied as a kid too?
Oh, I mean, I think everyone was, right, at some point or another. Yeah,
Yeah,
but
I
yeah.
guess, but I mean, for like, were you bullied because of your last name too, or was it like for other
Oh
reasons?
no, it was just more like playground stuff.
Oh,
Yeah,
playground stuff. Okay, okay.
yeah, yeah.
Okay, so
Just
so it's nothing like crazy like you see in the movies where you just get your butt whooped, and because you have a last name that doesn't sound like it's white or whatever.
because of your
I don't know.
yeah,
I mean,
yeah. No, no, not that I'm aware of. Yeah, yeah. Who knows?
okay,
Yeah,
okay,
yeah.
that's great.
It
Okay, no, no, it was just that just came into my head. That's all.
yeah,
Okay, but that's good. That's good to know that that generally you don't at least have any bad experiences with like when you're adulthood, not getting jobs because of your race. That's good. That's a good thing because because I'm sure there are a lot of people who, on the flip side, are totally not, have that privilege, right? So, so I
right.
agree with you on the fact that for me, I understand that privilege too. So I try to, like what you said, not take advantage of it. Um,
Yeah.
so okay, cool. And so kind of just moving on to this question that I had. I mean, we were talking about this earlier too, actually. You did mention to me that in general you've always been kind of an anxious person, maybe a little bit of nervousness, and I am
Hmm.
myself too. I recently, actually, this is during the pandemic, the lockdown. When you're in lockdown, you have a lot of time to self-reflect like everyone else.
Oh yeah.
And I do realize and find out about myself is that I could get pretty anxious myself, and I guess you can say in some ways every now and then maybe even have some kind of mini anxiety attack or whatever it is. Um,
Hmm.
so I guess my question is, do you have like kind of similar problems too? And if you do, like, what are some ways that you're managing it, and what are methods?
Oh man. Ooh, yeah, another heavy question, man. That's
This is what it's about.
yeah, yeah, that's great. That's why I'm here, and it's I really enjoyed your discussion. So yeah, it's a tough one, man. Like, because the pandemic changed everything. If anything, it it made it worse for sure.
Oh,
Especially last year when we didn't know anything.
yeah.
You know, when we didn't know what was going to happen. Was this going to turn into The Walking Dead? Like what's you know, or are we gonna? Is this going to disappear like SARS? Or so like we didn't know, right? So I think that a lot of that unknown initially that was really really difficult to take, and I did find myself suffering from really really strong anxiety,
Mhm,
and
mhm.
actually getting hit by, yeah, like anxiety, some form of anxiety attacks, and it was very difficult, very very difficult, and I found myself going back more to meditation, and like you said, like self-reflection,
Mhm, mhm.
and luckily having my family with me,
Yeah,
because like you said, like I have quite a few people are alone out there, and
yeah.
but so yeah, finding comfort in them, and what is it, going back into making time to exercise has been
Mm,
great for me. I know a lot of people have, and it's talked about a lot, but even just going for walks,
yeah.
and so I take my son out for walks, and we find a park, we explore. I think exploring new places, after being stuck inside in the same
Mhm,
space for so long.
mhm.
So like we'll just, go try to find a lake nearby, or try
Yeah.
to find, and see what does this park have, or
Mhm,
just being curious and just trying to be out there, and yeah, and I speak about this openly too with my friends and family. It's just like I've seen a therapist since like 2014,
okay.
and it's mainly because of I was dealing with a lot of problems back then inside my own family.
Oh, wow.
Because after my dad passed away in 2006, I started taking care of my mom,
Yeah.
and she had like early onset dementia and stuff. So I was going through a lot of issues trying to take care of her.
Mhm,
When she came back to live with me in 2013, I want to say, somewhere around there,
mhm.
and because she was living in the Philippines with her sister for a while, and so she moved back, and I was taking care of her, and I found that my wife didn't really like enjoy hearing about like me, every day, complaining or like talking about these issues with my mom, and with my brother, and so like all these things were coming up at the time. So I thought, well, you know what, I need to talk to somebody about this, and it's like I'm sure my friends wouldn't enjoy it either. So yeah, so it really helped. It really helped. I look at it as more of like a mentor,
Mhm,
or a life coach, if you will. It's just someone to really help me understand my feelings, and how to cope with them, how to express them, and how to, more importantly, embrace them. You know,
mhm.
when you said, so going back to like what you were saying about like what do you do about anxiety, I think the very first thing is to really definitely is to recognize it, and accept it. Because I feel like instinctually, or
Yeah.
the first reaction is to just kind of be like, no, no, I'm okay.
Yeah.
This is, I can do that. I'm okay. I'm totally fine. Nothing's wrong. And then but I think recognizing it really helped me,
Hmm.
recognizing what's going on, recognizing my emotions,
Yeah.
recognizing what I'm feeling, and knowing that that's okay, right? And just accepting it and feeling it, and going through it. I think, allowing the emotion to go through me and to experience it, and um, you know, to take it whole, to accept it whole, and then apply, whatever techniques that might be, whether it's breathing, going for a walk, or journaling, or yeah, or
Okay.
exercising. Yeah.
Okay.
So that's
Okay.
it. Yeah, I'd say
No, that's
accepting is a huge,
yeah,
huge part.
yeah, yeah. No, that sounds really good. I mean, it's true, it's true, and because I think a lot of times people tend to deny the reality and try to, because like what you mentioned about how
Yeah.
you feel like your friends wouldn't want to listen to you, or maybe even sometimes your wife gets tired of you complaining or whatever. I mean, but to me, I feel like it's not really complaining. It's more like you are understanding more about yourself, and these are the feelings that you have, and you're just expressing it. And I don't know, man. I don't know your friends personally. I'm not gonna say anything bad about them. They're probably very lovely, lovely people. But I mean, if you're really, really a true friend, it doesn't matter if it's the same issue over and over again. The point is to kind of listen and figure out what is the inner problem, like the deep roots of it, right? I mean,
True.
at least that's how I see it. But
That's
uh,
true. That's true. And then I think also it's like, what kind of advice can your friend give you as well? So,
yes,
yeah, it's like, I feel like the person I'm speaking to, who is to maybe a therapist or a psychologist or whatever, will, actually have that training and be able to help you identify like what it is, like correctly,
hmm.
or as like, I don't know, my friend might be like, oh, let's go have a drink, let's go. It's like, oh, don't worry about it, man. You'll be fine. It's like,
the
okay.
very default general saying, right?
Yeah.
Like some
Yeah.
bullshit like everything's fine, which
Yeah.
I mean, maybe back in the days, yes, you can say that, but day and age, at least definitely after, with this pandemic going on, no, you can no longer say that. You can't say everything's fine because the reality is that nothing is fine.
Right.
No, it's reality. Like,
Yeah, it is.
I mean, 500,000 people died, like in the whole world, like more than 500,000 people died already. The
Hmm.
reality of it is that like a lot of people were suffering loss and
Hmm.
all over the world, really. And then so
Yep.
for people who keep saying that, oh, everything's gonna be fine, I think they're the ones who just don't really want to confront the truth, and like what my other friend said, he was saying that a lot of people don't really like to be uncomfortable. They don't like to face the uncomfortable, right?
Right. Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. I was gonna say like accept the reality of the situation.
yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, because that's how you grow, I think, as a
Yep.
person, and because it sounds like that for you, you've grown as a person that way too. Like
Yep.
because I'm guessing you're still seeing your therapist, right?
Yeah, for sure. Yep. Yeah. I meet like once a week or every other week. So, it's just like this Zoom call or
Okay,
hangouts. Yeah. I mean, I can't, yeah, we don't, there's nothing in person right now because,
sure.
yeah,
Okay.
but
And then during your
yeah,
sessions, is it just also kind of like a casual conversation like what we're having, or there's
yeah.
some kind of set agenda?
It's very much like this. Yeah.
Okay.
And unless there's an issue that I need to, to explore,
Okay.
then we do talk about that. But other than that, yeah, it's usually just like this, man. And I'd say more often than not, it's just a conversation. Yeah. And I might be just looking for advice on something, you
Hmm.
know, and how to approach something, or are my feelings, correct, um, are my thoughts the right way? So yeah. And I'd say like, um, going into the pandemic, I knew that it was, when we had started isolating and we didn't know how long it was going to be. I think the biggest question I asked myself during that time was, was who do I want to be when this is over?
Okay.
You know, because I figured this is a good time to work on myself, right? To
Hmm.
work because yeah, we can't be out there. Well, most of us can't, and so I figured, well, maybe this is a good time for like self improvement and trying to explore that just trying to explore within myself and trying to be a better person once this is over. And I can't say for certain. I do feel better,
Hmm.
a year later. But if I'm a better person or not, I hope so. Um, I hope to treat other people better. Um, but and myself especially, and with self care,
Yeah.
everything. People talk a lot about that now, but
Yeah.
yeah, it's. I feel like self care has been often overlooked. Before this pandemic, yeah, and so I'm so glad that it's out there now and people are exploring themselves and and not being able to escape yourself. I think is the hardest thing, right? and and so when I'm stuck like this,
Hmm.
yeah, it's like I feel, I think I feel more, and it's just being able to cope with that, being able to have a goal, have a focus. I think has been great, at least internally, and I know you talked about this a lot on your show, but I also did one of those Vipassana retreats a while back.
Oh, you did.
Yeah,
Oh,
it
wow.
was yeah, it was back in like 2006, and
Oh,
and I feel like that also helped kind of guide me to sort of be like, okay, let's look internally and let's grow there while we can, I
oh, wow.
guess.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I mean, I actually curious now since you mentioned, I'm curious like how what was your experience like, with that retreat and afterwards?
It was great. It was prior to it, I knew nothing.
Hmm.
I'd known no one who went to it.
Right.
I was just I was actually going through a big breakup.
Hmm.
Sound like a cliche. And I was exploring, I was traveling, and I didn't know what I wanted. And this person, someone I used to work with, she told me like, she said, "Oh, my boyfriend's going through the same stuff, like trying to figure out what he wants." She's like, "Why don't you?" And he was thinking about doing this meditation retreat.
Hmm.
And so, she's like, back in '06, like websites weren't much, so but
Yeah.
there was a website. So I went to go check it out, and I'm like, "Oh, you just sign up, you just put your name in, and it's like 10 days, and it's free." I'm like, "And you can leave anytime you want if you don't like it." So I was like, "Sure, like
Uh-huh.
I'll go. Why not?
Yeah.
I'm not doing anything." So
Yeah. You get
yeah,
fed.
what's that?
Yeah. Yeah. And then you get food too there too.
Oh, the food is just delicious.
Oh, is
Yeah,
it?
it is. It's really, really good, dude.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, yeah. It's just at the time too, I was smoking, so that was the hardest thing for me. I think was just like not being able to smoke.
Uh-huh.
Um, but there was tea, there was coffee. Wait, no, I don't think there was coffee. I think it was just tea. Yeah, sorry, I
Okay.
take that back. Yeah, I think it was just tea. And and yeah, man, it was back then. I'd say before the pandemic, I'd say that was like probably the hardest 10 days of my life.
Mm.
Just being there and not being able to talk to anybody or anything. So, but being the hardest 10 days, but also being like one of the most rewarding 10 days of my life. I think. Yeah,
Okay. And would you say that that was more helpful than seeing a therapist, or it's just like a different experience?
a different experience
Oh,
for
okay.
sure. Yeah,
Okay.
because it's yeah, you only get the video or the audio coming in from Goenka. So,
Mhm.
and maybe if you ask a question to the ATs, to the assistant teachers, but other than that, it's nothing, right? It's you're in your own head and there's nowhere to go, man. It's it's
Mm.
quite the experience, and especially afterwards in the last day when you get to talk to everyone, and then everyone else, a lot of the guys there, whether they're in Manly or however they appeared, it's like
Yeah.
we all spoke about the day you broke down
Oh,
within
wow.
those 10 days, and it's like, and whether it was the second day or the fifth day or the eighth day, there's always seemed to be a moment where you just couldn't take it, and you know you were inside yourself, but you just kind of just released all that emotion.
Mm.
Yeah.
And then you had that moment too, right?
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, man. Yeah, yeah. It's definitely hard not to. Yeah.
Wow, that's interesting. It's funny because um, because you mentioned that you used to smoke a lot. I mean, we're weed, right?
Oh no, tobacco.
Tobacco.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
Um,
yeah.
because a lot of times, like people always compare, not always, but they would sometimes compare, like if you're doing some kind of deep meditation, you get to a certain level, it's almost the same as like being high on drugs or whatever like that. So
Hmm.
I don't know if it was like that for you at the time or
Man, I don't know. I think for me, it's more of like a spiritual high.
oh, spiritual
It's
high.
like, yeah, I don't know if you were ever like, if you were ever like in church or anything like that, or, but
No, I've not.
okay, but yeah, it was kind of like, I think that's more of the way I describe it. It's just more of like maybe after church or after like a meaningful prayer,
Hmm.
like just feeling uplifted and feeling
Oh,
like fulfilled within myself, and just like confident, I guess,
uh-huh.
spiritually. Yeah.
Okay. But is it possible that it was kind of like more like a false type of high? You know what I mean? Like you know how like during that time, you know how it is a lot of times like it's like more like adrenaline pump for like just that short amount of time, and then afterwards you fall back down to whatever you want afterwards, right?
mm, I I can't. I don't know. Yeah, I didn't feel that.
You
So
didn't feel that. Okay.
yeah, as far as I can remember. Yeah,
Okay, that's good. Okay,
yeah.
so you're pretty much uplifted the whole time, and even afterwards, you're like, I'm ready to go.
Oh, it's like just feel solid in that moment. I
Okay.
just feel one within myself, and then from there, it's just like just have the day, man. Yeah, just I go through all the emotions. Yeah.
Yeah, one within yourself. That sounds kind of deep. That sounds like something that I don't even know how to like explain or
Sorry.
comprehend.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I mean, it doesn't happen all the time.
Hmm.
I'd say like it's probably a lower percentage than anything, maybe 25-30% of the time, maybe
Mm,
lower than that. But just off the top of my head, but it doesn't happen. That's when it happens. But yeah, when it does, it's great. Yeah.
okay, okay. And then your what? And then the wife, your wife now, like she knew that you did all this stuff, and she was cool with it and all that.
Oh, back then?
Well, I mean, because like I'm sure like after, yeah, I'm sure after you met your wife after the Vipassana meditation, right? Like all that, all the.
Yeah. Well, actually, I knew I met her before I went to it,
Oh, okay.
but we were just like dating. Yeah, we weren't married
Oh,
yet or
okay.
anything. Yeah,
Okay.
we just met actually.
Right. Well, the only reason why I asked because a lot of times, I mean, I guess you can say regular people,
Hmm.
they, when you tell them about like stuff like, oh, I went on this kind of retreat or whatever, a lot of times they would kind of have these judgy eyes and be like, dude, you're crazy, or what is this spiritual stuff, right?
Yeah, no, she was really cool about it.
Oh,
Um,
okay.
yeah, I think the hardest thing for both of us was just not being able to speak to each other during that time. But yeah, but no, she was cool about it, and yeah, everyone I spoke to was about it afterwards were supportive. Yeah,
Okay. So
for the most part.
okay, interesting. That's cool. So it sounds like that was that, after that retreat was kind of almost like the start of like your growing process or your journey in a way.
Very much so. Yeah, I think that thing that sparked a lot. That sparked quite a bit of action for me. I think
Mm,
from then. Yeah, for sure.
okay.
Yeah, because after that, it was just like I was like 100% sure I was going to go to film school after that because I didn't know what I wanted to do.
Hmm.
I was pretty much at a crossroads, and um, I had quit my job working in corporate, and I was thinking about going to school like
Hmm.
post grad, but I didn't know for sure. And then yeah, I think after that retreat, I was kind of dead, I was dead set on doing it. So it's like cool.
Like, is this like film school just felt right to you? Like or you were exploring different subjects and you just landed upon film school?
It felt right for me. It was something that I wanted to do after
Mm.
undergrad. for
Okay.
sure. Yeah. Yeah.
Interesting. Okay. So is this something that for what reason it's just like film is something that it's just connected with you and then you're just like, hey, you know
Uh,
what? This is something I want to do.
Um, yeah, kind of like I knew I always wanted to write ever since I was
Okay.
little, but always thought I was going to write poetry or prose.
Oh, nice.
And then when I was in undergrad, I took a screenwriting course and I just
Mhm.
fell in love with it. I was just like, oh my God, this is what I've been looking for, you know? And but then of course I had to go work and,
Yeah.
worked in the cubicle
Hmm.
and that's like I would just think about I always knew I wanted to do something creative and
Okay.
yeah, so that was the just made the jump. Yeah.
Oh, nice. Very cool.
Yeah.
And you no longer write like poetry and stuff like that.
I do. It's rare though. It's pretty rare
Oh.
because I find that the brevity of screenwriting kind of calls for that, right?
Mm.
So I find that I'm allowed to kind of practice that in a way,
Uh-huh.
not so much, right? Because it's kind of frowned upon a little bit,
Mm.
but in screenwriting, but just enough, just a little touch here and there. Yeah.
Okay. Very cool.
Yeah.
Cool, man. This that's great to hear about, your journey and your process. Always I always feel very happy hearing other people's stories and how they kind of come from sort of down from the dumps in a way, all the way up. It's just it's kind of like a sort of like a miracle thing. Which
Oh no, it's just it's life, man.
that's true.
Yeah.
That's a good way to put it.
Yeah. So hopefully you make good choices, and luckily I've had some good people around me to help me. So which I think is always a plus, always a positive. Not
Right.
everyone has that, but yeah, man. I enjoy, man. I enjoy hearing people's stories too on here, man. So yeah, it's
Yeah,
been
yeah.
inspiring.
Yeah, no, yeah. I mean, especially different people, different, different backgrounds too, and I think that's the most important part. Because
Hmm.
I believe everyone has a voice, everyone has their own unique story, whether they're like the best at what they do or average Joes or whatever, right? Because I think everyone's experience is different. That's what make us unique individuals, right? And not everyone's the same. No
Hmm.
one's the same, really. Um, and so I think that's really cool. And I guess the last question here to kind of wrap it all up
Hmm.
is, I mean, for me, I don't know about you, but for me, the last couple of years, maybe the past year, I try to get into a little bit of, like Stoic philosophy. So
Ah.
I would think a lot about like mortality and because that's real. It's like a reality where we'll all die one day.
Yes.
So my question to you is that, so when that happens, how do you want people to remember you by?
Oh, geez. That makes me wonder. It's like who is going to remember me? you know,
Okay, well
because I'm like,
that's also a
yeah,
good question too.
and just I know, yeah, because when I hear that, I'm like, well, I think about who, and I think about then okay, I think about my son, and
Mhm,
to think how do I want him to remember me by, and then
mhm,
so I just want him to remember the things we did together, and
mm,
and how I loved him, and uh, and how I hopefully was there for him, and you know helped him on his journey, and if I could help other people on their journeys, whether they're friends or family or people that I just meet, I always try to keep that open dialogue too with
mhm.
folks, so I'm glad that we were able to keep the open friendship,
Yeah,
um over the course of just what over a year now, right?
yeah, it's over
And
a
it's like
year.
here I am telling you my secrets. It's like, man, it works. So it's great, man. No, it's cool. It's really cool.
Yeah. Well, I think
Yeah.
that's what it's about. I think everyone is really connected on some wavelength. I mean,
Yes.
I don't think anyone's just alone by themselves. And these are the ways how you create relationships. I think especially now during this time, I think it's always important to be connecting with people and really develop, cultivate uh, meaningful relationships.
Oh yeah. Yeah. And that's huge. I think it's a big reflection of myself internally, like not how many friends I have, but just
Mhm.
definitely the quality of those relationships. And oh, there's my son.
Yeah, yeah, I see that.
Yeah,
Yeah, I see
he's
his,
like
I see him
he's
in the
like
background.
yeah, he's like, hey,
See.
it's been an hour, man. Come on.
Yeah, yeah,
I know.
but we are about wrapped up, and that's a good way to end it. I think
Yeah,
that's good. Like where you want your son to see you as a good role model. I'm sure you want your friends to see you as a really uh caring and loving friend for having an open dialogue and everything. I think that's great too.
yeah, man. Yeah. Well, I can see. Yeah,
Sounds
he's
good.
just like, yeah,
Yeah,
he's
yeah, all
playing
good.
around.
Yeah, but yeah, we're about wrapped up here, and once again, thank you everyone for tuning in and for continuing to tune in to all the episodes. And everything that we talked about, any notable information, I'll post them on the description as usual. And thank you very much, Oliver, for joining in and sharing some of your secrets and your personal stories. Um,
Yeah, it's my pleasure, man. Thank you, Darren.
yeah, thank you,
Hopefully
man.
we'll get to talk again in the future. Yeah,
Absolutely. We'll always
yeah.
stay in touch. Cool.
Cool, man.
Great. Thank you
Right
all.
on.
And see you everyone next time, which is pretty soon. Thank you.